What up, Ranger Nation? It is your boy JB, and we are here today with the episode review of Power Rangers Dino Fury, episode 19. The episode was titled The Makeover, you guys. So, before we get into this review, if you guys are watching this video or any other video on this channel, I need you guys just to do me a big favor and hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, turn your notifications on, share the video, and with that out the way, Ranger Nation, let's go ahead and discuss episode 19 of Power Rangers Dino Fury. To be honest with you guys, so I actually watched this episode last week, and I didn't remember it because I didn't take any. I was just watching it just to see what the episode was about. So I watched the episode and I rewatched it again this morning before I missed the airing on Nickelodeon, so I rewatched it on Netflix, and my feelings are still the same when it comes to this episode, right? It's not a bad episode, but it really wasn't that great to me. I could have honestly done without the Pop Pop stuff. No offense to Pop Pop. I really could have done without the whole date with Pop Pop and Beatrice. Could have done without it. The other stuff in the episode was really good. I enjoyed like, the stuff with the Rangers. I enjoyed that stuff. But the date with Pop Pop and Beatrice, sorry guys, it's a thumbs down for me. It's a thumbs down for me. I gotta be honest with you. Gotta be honest, it was a thumbs down. So, we see Dr. Akana. So Dr. Akana, she is, she's telling, so we're doing an interview with Buzz Blast, right? So she's telling them that they found a treasure chest, which they believe belongs to Purple Beard. I'm like, interesting, Purple Beard. I'm like, is Purple Beard of any relation to Brown Beard? You guys remember Brown Beard was from Power Rangers Operation Overdrive, when Rose became Rosie the Great. Terrible episode. That was a terrible episode. I actually hated that episode. Actually, I hate that season. Yeah, honestly, I'm not an Operation Overdrive fan. Absolutely not an Operation Overdrive fan. But that's neither here nor there either. So, with this chest of Purple Beard, what they're going to do is they're going to take this treasure chest back to Pine Ridge Museum. So then we see in the studio that Jborg is interviewing Beatrice, who is, head of something at the museum, right? So Jborg is doing her interview, and she has Amelia in her ear with the interview questions. So after the interview is over with, we see Pop Pop, him and Beatrice, they have a conversation with each other, right? And, he was going to make a donation. Now, when he took that stuff out of his pockets, because the way that the museum operates is operating off of donations. And I was like, is that a rock in his hand and a rubber band and maybe a nickel or a penny? But he threw everything into the donation bag. So I was like, I don't think that was money, Pop Pop, but okay. So there's an instant connection between Pop Pop and Beatrice, right? Because I guess like one of the staff members of Buzz Blast, she comes by and she trips over one of those those lights, the softbox lights, right? She knocked it over. Pop Pop jumped into action and saved Beatrice from that. So after that, Pop Pop and Beatrice, they have a conversation with each other, right? And Beatrice says to Pop Pop, this might be a little bit this might be a little bit forward, but would you like to go out to lunch with me? He's like a date. She's like, yeah. He says, sure. So we see Amelia. Amelia was watching, and she's like, oh my God, Pop Pop, that wasn't in your horoscope today, right? So Pop Pop doesn't, Pop Pop has not been on a date in a minute, so he doesn't know what to do, right? So we're going to move over to Void Knight. So we see Void Knight. So Void Knight is watching the interview that Beatrice did with Buzz Blast, right? Talking about, the talisman that they believe are in that chest that belongs to Purple Beard. Well, Void Knight thinks that if he gets the talisman, that maybe the talisman could help him power up his machine. So then we see Slytherin and Mucus come in, right? And they came in with the monster of the day. His name is Bone Switch, right? And they want to show show Void Knight what Bone Switch can do. So what Bone Switch can do is he can switch bodies. So he switched Mucus and Slifer with each other, which was hilarious. It was a hilarious scene. Mika's like she wants y'all. She's always wanted to play with his scepter, right? And then she hits herself and turns herself into slime, and then Void Knight was like, put them back in their bodies, right? So he puts them back in their bodies, and Slifer's like, I gotta go take a shower to get this stench of you off of me. And Mika's like, what's a shower? So what Void Knight wants what's his name? Bone Switch to go to the museum, right? He wants Bone Switch to go to the museum and steal the talisman. And if any of the Rangers get in his way, he wants for him to switch them and get them out of his way. Then we see Amelia, right? So we see so the Rangers, they're back at in the base, right? So Amelia is online doing some online shopping for Pop Pop, right? She's looking to see what she can find. So she wants to get him a suit. She wants to basically give Pop Pop a complete makeover. And Zato was like, but I like Pop Pop how he is. She's like, I do too. But I also want for, Beatrice to like him. So he was like, so he can't be himself, which is a great question, right? If a person doesn't like you for who you are, and you have to change if you have to change who you are for a person, that person is not for you. Be yourself. Be your 100% authentic self. And someone, if they like you, they like you. If they don't, then they don't. But as long as you stay true to who you are, you don't have to worry about switching things up, right? So then Solon tells the Rangers that there's a Sporix beast at the museum, and she doesn't think that they're there to give a donation. So then we see Bone Switch. He's at the museum. He's looking for the talisman. But when he destroys the chest, there are no talisman, right? So the Rangers show up, and when the Rangers showed up, Bone Switch called for the henchmen. So the Rangers, they morph into action, right? And right as they morph into action, that is when Bone Switch, he decides that he's going to switch the Rangers, right? Remember, Void Knight told him if the Rangers got in his way, switch him. So that's what he did. He switched 4 of the 6 Rangers. Izzy and Ion were able to get away before he switched their bodies, right? So what he did was he switched Zato into Amelia's body and Amelia into Zato's body. He switched Javi into Ollie's body and Ollie into Javi's body. And then they demorphed at that point, right? So when they demorphed, they tried to remorph again, but they could not morph. So they went back to, to the base, leaving Izzy and Ion there to battle with the Henchman and with Bone Switch. Why do I keep wanting to say Bone Crush? I guess I keep wanting to say Bone Crusher because there's a rapper called Bone Crusher. But, Izzy and Ion, they, take out the Henchman, and then Bone Switch eventually leaves, right? So then we see, the Rangers, they're in the base. Amelia, she's trying to get Zato's antennas to come out. He's like, Amelia, what are you doing? And then her phone goes off, and she's like, oh no, it's almost time for Pop Pop's date. So she's freaking out, and Zato was still saying the same thing. What is wrong with Pop Pop being himself? She wants for Beatrice to like him, right? So then she sends Zato to give Pop Pop, the clothes, cologne. He puts it on, and the packaging says not to spray too much because it could attract bees. Pop Pop's like he's more afraid of this date than he is of bees, right? So then Zato also gives Pop Pop a little earpiece that Amelia will coach him through the date in his ear. So we see Pop Pop, he's on his date with Beatrice, right? So the date is not going too well, and like the cologne bottle said, spraying too much will attract bees. And lo and behold, it attracted a bee, right? So Pop Pop is shooing at the bee, and then he knocks the earpiece out into, his drink. So now it's a dud. So Amelia can't coach him through this date anymore at this point. So then, Pop Pop has to go back to the van because he's ruined his suit, right? So he goes to the van. He comes back dressed in his overalls, and Amelia's like, "Oh no, he's dressed in his work clothes." But him dressed in his work clothes, Beatrice liked that because she noticed the oil, the oil stains on his overalls, right? And she could identify this one. I can't identify that. Oh, the grease stains. He's like this one. She's like, I can't identify it. He said, oh, it's bacon. So they hit it off. So the moral of the story is, don't change up yourself. Be who you are. Be your authentic self, right? So then over in the base, the Rangers have figured out a solution. The reason why they can't morph. They can't morph because of their keys. Now, hasn't this happened before in Power Rangers history? It may have. I don't know. I'm tired. But yeah, so the reason that they can't morph is because of their power keys, right? So Javi needs his black stego key, as well as Amelia needs her Anklo. So they decide, okay, we'll just switch keys, right? So then we see that Bone Switch is back, right? So the Rangers teleport to where he is, and they switch keys and they morph. As soon as they morph, Bone Switch decides, because Ion was going to charge towards him. Bone Switch immediately switched Ion with the pigeon. I was like, oh wow, interesting, right? So the Rangers, they then start battling with Bone Switch, right? Bone Switch grew, so they called on the Zords. And when they called on the Zords, they transformed, and then they immediately took out his horns. Taking out his horns allowed them all to switch back to their correct bodies. And the Rangers were eventually able to defeat Bone Switch. Finally got his name right. So then to wrap up the episode, we see Amelia. So Amelia is at the museum. So Pop Pop is there working with Beatrice and Dr. Akana, right? So he has what looks like these puzzle pieces of a map, and he's putting them together, right? And then he notices, the talisman that are purple beards. But what they noticed about the talismans were that they looked like the Rangers, the Ranger keys. So then they also realized that it looks like the keys are buried near Dino Hinge. So Amelia goes to call the Ranger hotline to let them know. So then we see the Rangers as well as Dr. Akana, and we see them all. They're at Dino Hinge. So Zato uses one of the the boost keys to enhance his visibility, and he looks down and he finds the keys, and that is actually where the episode ended. So that's it, you guys. Please let me know what you guys thought about this week's episode. It wasn't. Now I want to preface this by saying it wasn't a terrible episode. It wasn't bad at all. It just was the pop stuff. I think if the pop stuff wasn't in there for me, I would have 100% loved the episode. But the pop stuff was just, and it's actually this week's episode and the last one that I didn't care for. And it's so interesting that people, had such an issue with the Neo Saban era about moral of the day episodes, but these are very obvious moral of the day episodes. I'm just saying. But it was okay. Wasn't my favorite, but I enjoyed it. I did enjoy it. Let me know what you guys thought about it. Please leave your comments in the comment section below and subscribe to the channel. And hit the notification bell button so you guys are notified when I drop anything else. Share the video, and until the next one, Ranger Nation, stay safe out there. Take care of yourselves. Wash your hands. Please wear a mask. Socially distance, and I'm going to see you guys later. I was thinking about doing a more phenomenal Ranger talk to discuss this, discuss what Jonathan Entwistle had given us this week. I may and I may not. I'm not sure. But I'll see you guys later. Bye, guys.